I know he's not the oldest because Diane Feinstein's out there, but she doesn't remember anything. Her cognitive decline is going faster than mine's. But he did not acknowledge D-Day until 8:45 p.m. Eastern, many hours after Breitbart published a story pointing out that he did not acknowledge D-Day. So I think we have shamed him into doing it. So we begrudgingly will note that he did. He did mention it eventually, but he was busy tweeting about what else during the day, gun control. So that's how he spent the day instead of talking about a time of historical bravery and unfathomable bravery in American history. One of the days that should inspire all of us. Instead, he tweets to my story about guns instead. Wait till the very end of the day. Oh yeah, maybe I should say something. He's on a cold streak. Economic gloom is at the worst level in 15 years. And what's interesting about that one is because we didn't really have a lot of great data these 15 years. Maybe this is the reason it's ever been. Maybe the combination of rampant inflation, horrifically priced gas for Asian security, and in the meantime, you send in pounds of cash from Ukraine, and all of that has got Americans in a very bad mood economically. And the bottom line is we've not had this level of data going back before 1972. So this is kind of where we started to track this stuff. And this is the worst it's been since this Wall Street Journal Newark poll, which is kind of standard in this regard, has been out. So maybe it's the worst ever. You know, 24/7 news cycle kind of makes a lot of us depressed, doesn't it? Gas prices soared to a record high for a ninth consecutive day. Biden is in a war on American energy, as we framed it in Breitbart News. He's doing a lot in his power to make sure that we are not adding oil rigs as quickly as we can, that we are not fracking as much as we can, we are not drilling as much as we can, we are not using resources like the Keystone XL as much as we can to get oil from friendly places other than OPEC nations. So it is 9 consecutive days. So this is where he's not doing anything to help himself, which is one of the stories of his presidency. The one thing he has done is he's expected to ask Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, to pump more oil. I just don't know why we're in a rush to get oil from OPEC nations and not our own oil. Oh yeah, the Green Lobby will not allow for that. So he is between a rock and a hard place. He doesn't want to lose his base. The last people who are giving him any support at all, and those people are radical Greens who don't want us drilling. They don't mind $7.75 gasoline. They don't. Gas in California is now over $7 a gallon for regular fuel. That is not a joke. Will that cause California to vote differently? Sadly, I don't believe so. Because I do think that the Green left is comfortable with that. I think they're comfortable with it. And what's interesting is to note that Biden keeps trying to tell people that everything is mostly going great. We keep being told over and over again that things are actually doing fine and the economy's in better shape. Maybe it's the best ever. But the problem is with the economy, the reality is perception in a lot of ways. And most Americans now think we're in a recession, according to The Economist and YouGov. Most Americans think we're there, but technically we're not. So we should be there, and it's a possibility we'll be there once we get Q2 data. So but most Americans think we're already there. And this does change patterns in the way people spend, because a lot of spending, particularly consumer spending, is going to take place based on speculation of where things are going to go, where the economy is going to go. Where things are going to go from here will determine whether or not you might open that small business, whether or not you're going to make that big purchase, whether or not you're going to try to drive your life forward. If you think that there's a chance that you're on a shaky ground financially, as so many of us do now, then that becomes a reality, and that pulls back spending, and thus the economy slows more. So 55% of respondents to this poll said the economy's in a recession now. Just 21% the economy's would say is the economy's not in a recession, and 24% say they're not sure. So this is truly significant in terms of what could happen next. It was sort of irritating, even though pretty hilarious, that the rapper and sort of pervert Cardi B, who famously interviewed Joe Biden during the campaign trail, said, "When y'all think they going to announce that we going into a recession?" It's a tweet from the other day. It's only irritating because she's part of the problem, because she helped people vote for Joe Biden. I was thinking about it when things get this bad, and I was looking at my own personal finances this week, and there's some stuff I'm thinking about not doing thanks to the inflation, thanks to how much more things cost. And how I'm thinking, how am I going to increase revenue flow if I want to get some stuff I want? Because everyone's poor, including me. And the people who made this happen are the people who voted for Democrats. Like, that's why. So let's not forget that. And it is a polite, you can politely point out to the people in your life who voted for Democrats, who made you think that Joe Biden had any potential at success, which of course he didn't. And if you heard this show, you knew that he had no potential for success. Not to say anyone would have predicted things would have gone this badly for the first year and a half, but no one knew he would. No one should have thought he was going to be able to do anything productive. And it is important to remind people that voting for Democrats does create these problems. It does make things worse, just about every time. So Biden has not done any press for 119 days as of now. And he's going to break his streak with a hard-hitting interview on Jimmy Kimmel Live NBA Finals Game Night. So Jimmy Kimmel, the guy who is a comedian and has kind of become a left-wing Democrat activist, he will be the one who will get the next Biden interview. He's bold and brave. You can tell by his aviators. This has prompted some people in the establishment media to start trying to give Biden the hook, trying to push him out, suggest maybe it's time for Democrats to start thinking about running against him. A lady named Amy Parnas, who I know has written some popular books from the left-wing perspective on politics. She had a column in The Hill, and she was writing about the people who are most likely to replace Biden if he chooses not to run, which is wishful thinking. So clearly media trying to encourage Biden to get out. But who would take his place? Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, and Amy Klobuchar. Those are her names. So all people who are not going to be the solution to this problem. They're not going to make things better. And they're probably going to be arguably less electable. Arguably. I don't know anyone in this list who would be significantly more electable. I think maybe Klobuchar and Sanders might be a little bit more, but Sanders is older than Biden. And Klobuchar comes off as she's very unlikable the more you get to know her. I don't know if Americans would want to hang out with her for a whole campaign trail. So, especially when you dig into some of her corruption that Peter Schweizer's done a great job of breaking down, and we've done on the show over and over again. Notice who's absent from that list: Hillary Clinton, the person who I still think is the front runner right now for 2024. Report: frustrated and seething Joe Biden is angry about his flailing presidency. I can only imagine. So this is according to Politico, so take it with a grain of salt. But there's the greatest source of West Wing frustration comes behind the resolute desk, being the president. He's using a lot more salty language. Let's try to get people fired up. He's got nothing going. He got absolutely nothing going on that's positive. What's going on that's positive in his life? You got another caravan coming. Gas is through the ceiling. Baby formula crisis. It is, we're sending a bunch of money to Ukraine. Karine Jean-Pierre, who is somehow performing even worse than Jen Psaki thus far, has explained the gas prices by saying this is a global challenge, and frustrated Americans should know that gas is even higher in other countries. So does that make you feel better about the fact that we're sitting on countless gallons of oil that we're not interested in extracting from the earth because of the green movement? Biden's delivered the CCP another victory. He's waived tariffs on suspected Chinese solar panels. Christina Wong is a big story in this for us at Breitbart News. He's announced a 24-month exemption of tariffs on solar panels from 4 Southeast Asian nations that the Commerce Department suspects were actually all made in China. Cambodia, Thailand, Vietnam, and Malaysia, but they think they actually were made, they're Chinese producers. So Biden has exempted these solar panel imports from tariffs in order to get stalled solar power projects back on track. Wow, it's great. Do you guys like that better, or do you like drill baby drill better? So what is the Democrats' moves? What are they going to do? Well, we know what they're going to do, and it's going to be Thursday night. They're going to have a primetime January the 6th hearing. And the person who's running it is a former ABC News president who's famous for A, burying Jeffrey Epstein's stories, and B, being a producer who makes packages to make things compelling news narratives. A guy named James Goldston is going to be taking this utterly serious hearing and presentation on the atrocities that took place when these hooligans tried to overrun our democracy with an insurrection. And he's going to produce it like it's some sort of dramatic narrative piece for ABC News. So this is what the House Democrats have hired this guy, news executive from ABC, Disney, aka kissing the butt of communist China to make more of that sweet, sweet commie cash. He's going to come in for a made-for-TV, primetime TV hearing to convince Americans that Donald Trump himself personally attempted an insurrection January the 6th. The timing of this is not coincidental. All the bad stuff that's going on. To Biden's credit, and the Democrats' credit, it is smart that they are trying to change the narrative. Now, I'm excited about this at Breitbart, and we were having a discussion in our newsroom. Should we just ignore it? It's just all going to be a show trial. And I said, no. We're going to cover it big. Because I'm betting pretty big it's going to flop. It's going to backfire. It's going to look bad. It's going to look cheap. It's going to look like a excuse to not talk about all the horrible stuff that's happening in the Democrats' watch right now. But then again, maybe they come up with something big. Maybe they show something unbelievable that we haven't seen about January the 6th. And in that case, you guys should know about it. But as of now, a declining number of Americans find Trump responsible for January the 6th. The January 6th committee chair is a guy named Congressman Benny Thompson, who we noticed at Breitbart, based on an article in 1992, Mississippi's Clarion Ledger, that he did not stand against violence in the aftermath of rioting that took place around that time, particularly the 1992 LA riots. So that rioting, he didn't want to slow down. But what happened at the Capitol with the frustrated people, January the 6th, and recall, there was no one who was killed by Trump supporters. No one was killed by Trump supporters. Law enforcement killed a Trump supporter named Ashley Babbitt, and the other people who died of natural causes. And that's it. So, and the media lied about it, of course, saying that the Trump supporters had killed Brian Sicknick. Turned out not to be true. Like they beat him to death with a fire extinguisher or something, which turned out to be totally bogus. So we're going to watch this be treated like it was the worst day in American history, and thus you should never vote for Republican again, and we should all endure all this horrible inflation, gas prices, and open borders, etc. Not to mention what's going on around the world. most horrific story yesterday was terrorists disguised themselves as Christians, they were Muslims, for opening fire at a church in Nigeria, killing over 50. Recall that Biden took Nigeria off the list of countries that are oppressive towards religious people. I mentioned this just on last week's show, I believe. Does that give you a chill? I mentioned this on, I think, on last week's show, and then a couple of days later, Fulani terrorists unleashed gunfire, Catholic church, killing 50. You know what they need? They need some gun control out there. They need some red flag laws. That'll take care of it. It was sickening to look at some of the media reports that just simply refer to it as gunmen and not Muslim terrorists. Not to say all Muslims are terrorists. Should I say that? Of course I can say that. Got every caveats in there for the source-funded freaks monitoring the show. But Biden pulls them off the list, and it doesn't matter. Terrorism's still happening just because you're not on a list. And against Christians. A guy named Jake Evans, who's a Georgia Republican who's running for Congress, he was on Boyle's show, Breitbart News Saturday last week, and he said that Republicans need the same investigatory hearings against Democrats as Republicans with the majority. I'm so in on this. And in fact, to the point where I think that if Republicans don't start doing this stuff right away, assuming they take the Congress in January, then they need to be primaried right away and pushed out. So they need to fight fire with fire. When you got the goods. Don't do it when you got nothing, but when you've got something. I mean, I would love to figure out why we don't drill and why we leave our border open. I think those are important things to figure out. Can we start with those? Maybe look a little more into how we botched Afghanistan pull out so bad. Those would be good things to figure out. Get the bottom of it, get the full picture. We don't really know what's going to go on Thursday. I was trying to ask Joel Pollack to dig into it for us, and I'm going to try to get a good update for you by Thursday morning so you know what's going to happen Thursday night as best we can. But as far as we know, the evidence is being presented these January the 6th investigations is almost nothing so far. CNN contributor Carl Bernstein, who is the dumber of the two, Woodward and Bernstein, he was on Don Lemon. And he said that there is really convincing evidence that Trump attempted a coup. What is the evidence? We don't know yet. I guess the evidence is that Trump didn't tell them to go home until after 4 or 5 in the afternoon, even though they were pleading to him to please send them home after around 1 p.m. So Trump didn't tweet fast enough for Carl Bernstein. Is that what we're going to hear? This is what I'm saying. I mean, it's got to get better than that, right? All right, as is the tradition, I will give you my woke updates, and I will begin with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and she is a very important lesson for all of you. Let's play cut one, please, Haley, please.
I also have a mini rant about this because there are some politicians, including Democratic politicians, that rail against the term Latinx. And they're like, this is so bad for the party, like blah, blah, blah. And like, it's almost as though it has not struck some of these folks that another person's identity is not about your re-election prospects. Like, this is not about you. If putting a little X on your campaign literature is what you think is the difference between winning or losing an election, you need to talk about healthcare more. You need to raise people's wages. You need to talk about more issues that also matter to people. That being said, why are people opting for trying to use Latina over Latinx? Well, Latinx can be convenient in written form because you just put down an X and people can kind of mentally put in whatever vowel they identify with. But it's kind of hard to say. So Latine, you avoid the masculine O, you avoid the feminine A. Latina, E, is a little more neutral, so it could be more inclusive to people. For example, saying nosotros.
This is all real. This is all. I could not have scripted this if I wanted to script out what a woke lunatic sounds like. I couldn't do it any better. Even with the inflection, incredible. She is I should write her a thank you note. Send her a box of gourmet popcorn or something. Definitely aided to the Marlow family bottom line. since she came onto the scene. So just know that. Those of you who are using Latino or Latina and not Latinx are because of your electoral prospects, and you should focus on healthcare. And you consider using Latine, which is new. That's the E. I hadn't even heard of that until this conversation. No discussion of whether or not maybe Latino people don't like an anglicized, woke version of their language to be dictated to them by left-wing Democrats. It does come up. It's just about elections and what's easier to say. And she mispronounced it. It's Latinx. I believe that's the preferred pronunciation. Okay, more woke updates. The Tampa Bay Rays, a baseball team, are wearing rainbow with, not just a rainbow, but with the trans, so it's really a trans star on their sleeves, and they wear a hat that has the trans colors. And several players, I think 5 in all, saying their Christian faith, says they don't want to wear these on their jersey. They're refusing to do it, which is amazing. This is something I've been calling for a long time. I wonder if anyone listened to the show. But I've been saying, I've been wondering I've been wondering where all the people are who are going to stand up in professional sports and say, no, this is not the point of sports. The point of sports is not to do this woke pandering to left-wing people because I work for a big corporation that's trying to sell merch. So reliever Jason Adam was one of them who said it was a faith-based decision. It's just that we believe the lifestyle that Jesus encouraged us to live for our good, not to withhold. But we love these men and women. We care about them. We want them to feel safe and welcome here. So he says, Jesus says don't do it. But we still love the people who, identify with this stuff. So lots of the people are angry about this online, that you're supposed to, if you don't wear the trans patch, you must not be a good person. So, but good for these people. I hope they stand strong, and I hope they don't get cowed. But it's just been interesting to watch all these sports teams, Major League Baseball in particular. Seems like they're the latest on the woke bandwagon. But a positive development with the Tampa Bay Rays. Just standing up and saying we're not going to do this. It's ruining sports. It's ruining sports, and it's ruining it by something that was so unthinkable, to make it seem like the most apolitical outlets are now all of a sudden the places where you're getting reminded constantly we have to look at these stupid flags. Sorry, they are stupid.
Oh.
I understand the gay pride movement. I understand that. I don't know if I identify the word pride, but I get it for a number of reasons, not all of which I will explain. But when you start adding all the trans stuff in it, and then now they have the Ukraine flag, there's a meme online which has just been cracking me up, hilariously, where they have a new flag, and then someone write, new flag just dropped. Like a new flag is like a new album from your favorite rapper. A new flag just dropped. Because they're constantly updating the flags. They added black and brown this year, they added the blue and yellow for Ukraine. The trans were added last year. And the easiest way for a company to show their virtue is to do what? The easiest way is to simply put out a new flag on their social media. Georgetown lecturer resigned named Ilya Shapiro, who'd been covered at Breitbart, for a tweet he fired off. This was 4 months ago. And the tweet was about Ketanji Brown Jackson. And he tweeted, this is the tweet, objectively, the best pick for Biden is Sri Srinivasan, who is exactly why I said was the best pick for Biden, who is a solid prog and V-smart, and he's progressive, very smart, even as identity politics benefit of being first Asian Indian American, but alas, he doesn't fit into the latest intersectionality hierarchy, so we'll get lesser black women. Thank heavens for small favors, question mark. Obviously very aggressive, particularly for someone who is teaching at Georgetown. But nothing in there is inaccurate. And we don't live in a country with free speech, so this led to a 4-month-long investigation, and he eventually cried uncle, gave up. I'm out. So 4 months investigation in that tweet. So it seemed like he was harassed along the way. He wrote a column about it in the Wall Street Journal. We'll reach out to him and see if he wants to come on the show. But an amazing thing. You cannot say truthful stuff calling out the woke nature where we are right now. The Carolina Panthers now have a trans cheerleader, which means a man who will dress as a girl and then cheerlead. Much of this, I do think, is partly to distract us from things like how the May migrant apprehensions hit 220,000, which breaks a Clinton-era record. We support this exclusively by Breitbart News. A 10,000 migrant caravan is now headed for the U.S. border. I asked Brandon Darby what he thinks the deal is behind that one, and he thinks it's a negotiating tactic from Mexico. And they'll break it up eventually, but it's all games. And what's our celebrity class preoccupied with is gun control. Matthew McConaughey wants gun control. Steve Kerr, the coach of the Golden State Warriors, pushing for gun controls have already failed. And even Republicans are in on it. 250 Republican donors have praised Senator Cornyn's gun control efforts. So the donor class, even on the right, looking to sell you down the river. Pretty amazing thing that people have been pointing out a lot online, that the trans movement, where we're supposed to allow for children to transition without their parents' knowledge, but then we have to extend how old you have to be to get a gun. A little bit hypocritical there in terms of trusting younger people to make decisions with their own lives. Some good news though, Justin Trudeau's pistol ban has seen handguns sell out. So I mentioned that. But it has backfired like it so often does in America. When we talk gun control, more guns get sold. 866-95-PATRIOT. A lot more going on out there. I will close the opening with a couple Hunter Biden updates. Hunter Biden has recklessly handled a firearm with prostitutes in the nude, according to new photos unearthed by Radar Online. So, Hunter likes his firearm. His dad doesn't like him, though. But no one likes them for Hunter's love child. I think it was the Daily Mail that pointed this out, that Hunter, who has a son with a former stripper named London Roberts, has a 3-year-old granddaughter, and the granddaughter is not getting protected the same way the children Hunter likes is getting protected by. So just to let you know how totally immoral the Biden family is, in case you didn't need to know the answer to that. All right, 866-95-PATRIOT. We'll take your calls when we come back.
The Brian Kilmeade Show. So if you're a gun right advocate, which most of my audience is, the most responsible people I know are the ones who are advocates for the Second Amendment and guns. They even put down the NRA $126 million for school training of resource officers. So the worst thing that could happen to a pro-gun person is to what happened last week. Not only is it horrific because they're usually parents and they care about humanity, but it makes their gun ownership go into question.
Brian Kilmeade, Saturday, starting at 3 p.m. East on Sirius XM Patriot 125.
Has your business received a payroll tax credit? The IRS is issuing payroll tax credits that turn into cash refunds for employers who kept employees on payroll throughout the pandemic. This refund could be anywhere from $5,000 to as much as $26,000 per employee, payable in a check from the IRS to your business. PFG Tax are experts in calculating and applying for these tax credits on behalf of businesses. Call us today to see how big your refund will be. 888-77-TAX-HELP. That's 888-77-TAX-HELP. PFGTax.com. No gimmicks, just results.
You run a small business, but who's running your HR? Do you have an HR manager? When's the last time you had an HR audit? Do your employees take workplace safety training? My last question to you is this: what are you waiting for? One complaint against your company can turn your world upside down. I'm Alan Jones, and I created Bambi specifically for small business. All so you can put your HR on autopilot. With Bambi's HR Autopilot, you'll automate the most important HR practices, like HR policies, workplace training, and employee feedback. And you'll get a dedicated HR manager, not for $80 grand a year, but yes, for $99 a month. We're here to help you navigate the most complex parts of your HR, available by phone, email, and real-time chat. And here's what I'm the most proud of. Bambi customers are 4 times less likely to have a claim filed against them, which is why Bambi has received thousands of 5-star reviews. You run your business. Let Bambi run your HR.
Go to Bambi.com/Patriot today for your free HR audit. Spelled BAMBEE.com/Patriot. Bambi.com/Patriot.
They lurk in the gaps left by obsolete security, and they're coming for you. Ransomware attackers, bringing organizations to their knees. An attack shouldn't feel inevitable. You should feel invincible. Cyber Reason is undefeated in the fight against ransomware, with the only predictive ransomware protection available, automatically stopping attacks before encryption and empowering security teams with full visibility. Ransomware won't define this era. Those who defeat it will. Visit cyberreason.com to learn more.
Set your summer barbecue off with SiriusXM channels custom built for grilling and chilling. Whether it's classic rock or classic hip hop, today's country or rockin' country. Choose your flavor and fire it up. Just open the SXM app and search BBQ. Included with all trials and popular plans.
This is Breitbart News Daily with Alex Marlow on SiriusXM Patriot 125.
Okay, Lon, let's talk to some of you across the country. 6695 Patriot. Joe in California, line 1. What's up, Joe?
Well, thanks for taking my call. Well, what I want to talk about is the fact that Biden's trying to get the tariffs off the solar panels. Our Green New Deal and their big old huge worry about climate change. If you take a piece of glass and you aim it at the sun, and then I sort of like shine it on you, you're going to feel the heat from it. So if you put say a 75-acre solar panel in, what you've done is you just created a huge heat laser. Well, California has now done about 170 acres at the foot of the Tehachapi Mountains. You're from California, you're probably familiar with that area. And there used to be a few hundred windmills on that mountain. Now there's probably 10,000 windmills on that hill. It's a constant air draft because, like hydrology, you have the same kind of thing with heat. As heat rises, you suck in colder air to take its place. They are creating their own climate change, and nobody's even talking about this.
I'm not sure I totally follow. How are they creating climate change?
Okay, if you take a mirror and you have the sunshine on it, and I put the mirror aimed towards you, you're going to feel heat.
Yeah.
What happens to heat? It rises.
Okay.
When heat rises, something has to come in and fill the void.
Okay.
The void is cold air. Now you have created wind. Continuous loop.
Wow.
Come on, you don't get it.
So you're saying the solar panels are creating climate change?
Solar panels, when the sun shines on them, create heat above the solar panel.
Yeah.
That heat rises.
Yes.
I mean, you don't have to have much more than about a 6th grade education to understand hydrology, and this fits in that kind of category. Now, I think somebody at Breitbart might want to look into this.
Yes.
All they're doing is destroying our environment with the solar panels, creating huge wind areas.
This is the missing link, Joe. Joe, I gotta run, but this is the missing link, I guess. The real climate change is coming from the solar panels. I cannot confirm that one on the fly. Maybe there's something to it. I don't know. I'll look into it. Jennifer, New Jersey, line 3. Jennifer, what's up?
Hey, Alex, how are you? I'm live from the pool in Asbury Park, New Jersey.
Nice. Are you working the polls today, Jennifer?
Yes, I am. I'm making a difference in my own little way.
I love this so much. I love the poll workers. We only have the best poll workers, and I encourage all of you to work the polls. What are you observing so far? Anything?
So far so good. I am in deep in the heart of Asbury, so it's it's urbanish, and people are super nice. Everybody's super nice, but I'm keeping my eyes open.
Good. It's important to do.
The poll books are the ones that are connected to the internet, not the The machines are not, but the poll books are. I don't know if that makes any difference. But
Oh, that's interesting. So you're saying the people who think the machines are the problems. It's not necessarily the machines. It's what's it's one step removed from that.
Yeah, it's called a Nighthawk. Like if you open up your phone and try to look for the network so you can like get on, you can't find it. It's like encrypted or whatever. But they said that it's like, I guess it's like a USB that goes from the machine into the poll book. I guess I'm gonna get the whole thing, but yeah. So it's not the machines that are connected to the internet. At least
that's interesting.
Here in, I can talk Monmouth County, New Jersey, Asbury Park. I can't talk anywhere else.
Right. Well, and that last point is so crucial, Jennifer, because it's part of the reason why there's so much confusion is because we can't. It's not a set standard system. From area to area, and this is why everyone has to get coached up on what specific systems are that are in question, which allows for, I think, a fair bit of cheating to take place. Is probably just because it's just there's no standardization here. And not say standardization is realistic or possible, but yeah.
We don't really want it to be all the same, right? We don't want to have a national.
Because then it'll be easier to hack them all. If you could hack one, you can hack them all. Is that the sort of thing?
Right, and then because then they can control. You know what I mean? Like, somebody can control it. Like, it's a nationalized system, so it's too easy to control. In New Jersey, every county is allowed to do their own thing. So if you want ES&S, you can use them. If you want Dominion, you can do that. If you want whatever each county wants to do. According to the RNC guy that I went to a meeting, they had a national guy there. They said that only like 11, only like half of the counties that are Republican reached out to them for help when. Because they're not allowed to, like, the RNC is not allowed to reach out to the county has to reach out to them. So, some counties are not utilizing the RNC the way they should, but on the other hand, they also don't like the RNC, so, you know what I mean? Like, some people have, you have the America First crowd versus, like, the establishment.
Give me what is your job? So what are you supposed to be doing when we all like the idea of poll worker, but what does that mean to be a poll worker?
Okay, so when I'm not talking to you, I sit behind the desk, and first we set up all the machines, which is not that hard, and then you sit there and you like wait for people to come in. They come to your district, you take them to the booth, and then like you show them how they're supposed to do it, and that's it. Like, you're just assisting, but so I'm supposed to make sure like their signatures match, that kind of stuff. Like, there are instances where you can ask for identification, but they're very like few and far between. So my eyes and ears are supposed to be open to make sure, like if I see somebody come in at 7 a.m., at 7 p.m., if I see the same person come in again, okay, well, now we have a problem. Sometimes you have to go to the magistrate and get a special dispensation to go and, like, vote, and they have to come back. It's like a big dramatic thing. I haven't experienced that because it's my first day, but, yeah, so.
It's good.
The little guy's power is in election administration. That's what everybody needs to get, because you go to a town meeting, guess what? You're poor, I'm poor. Nobody cares what we have to say. They just don't, because we're not movers and shakers. But when you get on the ground and you're really making sure signatures matches and stuff like that, that's where you're making a difference.
Yeah, I think that's a very good way of putting it. And I've long since encouraged people to volunteer wherever they can, and being a poll worker is definitely one of them. What type of person is attracted to this, spending a day or two like this? Jennifer, is there a lot of people like you, or just politically minded, who want to make a little difference, or is it other people kind of fell into it different ways?
I would say it's like 80-20. People that maybe 70-30 people are, because in New Jersey you get paid $300 now, so
yeah,
for the day. And actually, it's not just a day or two. Like, you can sign up for early voting, you know, because like all that stuff. So the poll worker is a whole 15-hour day, because you don't want a poll worker in the middle of the day come in and not know what they're doing. So the poll workers are all day, but the poll challengers, they're done by the candidates in Monmouth County, New Jersey. I can't talk about any other area, but they are kind of brought on by like the candidates or whatever to kind of go in and like they're like challengers. So like they can go out and do things that I can't do. Like I can't contact like the RNC and like find out where we need votes or anything like that. Like they can.
Right.
Because I'm an actual election official, and they're just like volunteers, but their hours are not as long. So anybody that wants to has been like deterred from being a poll worker because the hours are so long, become a poll challenger and the hours are a lot less. I don't think you get.
Yeah, so I was gonna. Right, I was gonna ask: is it a full day? So when does your day end, or or is it something where it's broken up into shifts?
No, we're 5 a.m. to 8:30 when we close up.
Wow.
It's all day, and then you get an hour for lunch. Yeah,
Wow.
So it's a lot. It's a big responsibility. It's a commitment, but you do get paid for it, and you really are making it. That's where your power is.
I agree with that. And
because the Democrats have learned this their whole lives.
Oh, of course they have. Yes. No, we're way behind.
We don't.
We're way behind.
We don't.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And I will tell you, Jennifer, it's really important what you pick for lunch today. So give that some thought, because it's going to be your only little break there for a long day. So make sure it's something good. Oh, we lost her. All right. So we got to take a break. We'll come back with more calls.
Hey, Patriot audience, David here. I appreciate your calls. We'll always take them at 866-95-PATRIOT. And be here for the candidate carousel in the middle of an election cycle. November is coming.
Listen live weekdays at 9 a.m. East on Sirius XM Patriot.
Shouldn't need a second mortgage just to get new blinds and shades. Hi, I'm Rick, founder of Select Blinds. When I saw the hoops customers had to jump through just to get an unrealistic and overpriced quote for blinds, I knew the industry was broken. It seemed simple. Everyone wanted custom blinds and shades without the custom price tag. Blinds that we could put up with the simplicity of hanging a picture frame. And if they could be shipped for free directly to our homes, even better. That's why I started Select Blinds, one of the very first direct-to-consumer brands offering all of this and more. We eliminate the middleman, simplify the design process, and pass huge savings on to you, all while never sacrificing quality. We give you all the inspiration, tools, and expert advice you need to make your dream home a reality. But you don't have to take my word for it. Check out our over 300,000 5-star reviews. Fall in love with your home again by visiting selectblinds.com. Selectblinds.com, the smart and simple way to get blinds.
Parents, it's time to cross off the most important thing on your to-do list. Life insurance. With Fabric, protecting your family with a great term life insurance policy is quick and easy. Like, apply online in just 10 minutes easy. Plus, you can be approved on the spot with no health exam. No inconvenient phone calls, scheduling, or appointments needed with Fabric. Just apply online. See your quote and personalize your offer to fit your family's needs. And Fabric's new lower prices mean policies start at less than $1 a day. So protecting your family is also affordable. There's no risk to apply. Fabric has a 30-day money-back guarantee, and you can cancel at any time. Don't put it off any longer. Tackle your family's to-do list now at meetfabric.com/Marlow. That's meetfabric.com/Marlow. meetfabric.com/Marlow. Fabric Insurance Agency policies issued by Vantis Life. Not available in New York and Montana. Prices subject to underwriting and health questions.
The Five is the #1 show on the Fox News Channel. It's must-see television featuring 5 of your favorite personalities debating today's top stories. Get caught up with all the latest news with 5 fresh opinions from the team that will give it to you straight. A no-nonsense look at politics, the economy, and beyond. Find out why everyone's talking about The 5. Weekdays at 5 p.m. Eastern, only on the Fox News Channel. America is watching.
Crime is off the charts, and no one is doing anything about it. Remember, November is coming. Sirius XM Patriot 125.
This is Breitbart News Daily on Sirius XM Patriot 125.
All right. Let's go to Ted in Minnesota. Line 2, Ted, good morning.
Hey, Alex, good morning. Great show.
Thank you.
You mentioned Woodward and Bernstein in your monologue, and I just want to throw my 2 cents in here. Woodward and Bernstein were touted as these great investigative reporters. The fact is, they were more or less stenographers for Mark Felt, who went
by the name Deep Throat. He was a disgruntled FBI person who was mad that Nixon didn't make him director of the FBI. He was sort of like a James Comey of his day. And he fed all kinds of information to Woodward and Bernstein, and they just doled it out in a clever way, and the media presented it in, piecemeal fashion to go after Nixon. And basically, that's all Woodward and Bernstein were. They were not investigative reporters. They're political hacks. And they got all these accolades for it because the liberal establishment just loved them. That's all I wanted to pass on.
Yeah, there's certainly quite a bit to this, and Ted, and I think with Bernstein in particular, Woodward is not overly impressive to me, but he seems to have a workman's-like attitude. He seems to be, has the ability to ingratiate himself with powerful people and get them to trust him and tell them stuff, which is a skill. It's not the most impressive skill in all of journalism, but it is a skill. Bernstein I don't get. He's just a really not good talking head, and people keep getting his take. And it's because of stuff that happened 50 years ago with, again, as you point out, a lot of the success of that. I mean, you do have to ride your own story, and sometimes there's a lot of pressure to back off of it and to not put your foot on the gas. I'm not giving them no credit, but it does seem like when people drop a story in your lap and you just type it up is sort of, that does happen with a lot of big scoops in journalism. Not all of it is. I'm not saying that's exactly what happened there, Ted. I'm not a Watergate historian, so I'm sure there's, a lot of angles on this. But it is something when you're thinking about great journalists, some of them really did the gumshoe work of great reporting, and others typed up stuff that powerful people sent them. And it's important just to try to think about which is which and which category which journalist falls under.
Yeah, that's a good point. And didn't Woodward, help me remember this, didn't he get interviews with Donald Trump and then he just turned on Trump to try to trash him recently?
Sure, but but that's what I'm saying, is that his job is to get Trump to trust him, and then Trump did trust him and gave him hours and hours and hours of interviews. And then Woodward, who's obviously a political Democrat, typed them up and made Trump look bad. So that is 100% on Trump, and I credit Woodward for that as a journalist. I mean, that's incredibly devious that he was able to convince Donald Trump he could somehow do him any favors, which of course he could never do.
Yeah.
Woodward could not help Trump in the slightest.
No, those are good points, but journalism shouldn't be about tearing somebody down. It should be about educating the people, and that's what it's become for the left. It's just, who can we tear down today, and I'm just tired of it.
Fair enough, Ted. Fair enough. All right, we'll take a break, and then we'll be right back.
Their clients. Optima got me a settlement with the IRS. These people are really people-friendly. It was every bit of a new lease on life for me.
The fast action and the great results made Dan's head spin.
I felt like I was in a dream, but it's real. And I have paperwork to prove it. They got the job done, and life is good. For
to attempt to leave southern Mexico this year set out early Monday. An estimated 4,000 to 5,000 migrants, mostly from Central America, Venezuela, and Cuba, set out from Tapachula, Mexico, near the border with Guatemala. Advocates say the march is timed to this week's Summit of the Americas in Los Angeles in a bid to call attention to their plight. Many migrants and asylum seekers have been waiting for months, partly due to Mexico's strategy of containing them in the south, partly because Mexico's asylum agency has been overwhelmed by the surging number of applicants. I'm Mike Gracia.
The price of a barrel of oil has nearly doubled in the past 10 months, and as price of crude skyrockets, gas prices follow suit. National average gallon of regular just shy of $4.91 this morning, according to the AAA. 7 states holding primary elections today. In New Mexico, Republican voters choosing a nominee for governor from a field of 5. The winner of the GOP contest will take on incumbent Democrat Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson surviving a no-confidence vote, securing enough support from his Conservative Party to remain in office, he tells Sky News.
This is a very good result for politics and for the country.
But the vote leaves Johnson a weakened leader with an uncertain future. San Francisco voters fed up with brazen burglaries and auto smash and grabs could oust one of the most progressive prosecutors in the country in today's rare recall election. Chesson Boudin was narrowly elected in 2019, part of a national wave of liberal district attorneys. Watching Wall Street, the Dow futures down 138 points, NASDAQ futures off 80, S&P futures 18 points in the red. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Relief Factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
When I adopted her, she was a mess. Scabs, itching, licking, missing fur, hot spots. So I get the Dinovite. DINOVITE.com. And the Lico Chops. Within a 4-week total, Sheba is 105 lean pounds of shiny, smooth, happy dog. And she loves it.
You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
Dinovite for life. DINOVITE.com.
As fighting continues to rage in the eastern Ukrainian city of Severodonetsk, President Zelensky warning that his troops there are outnumbered by stronger Russian forces. He says street fighting combined with constant Russian bombing have rendered it a dead city. The BBC's Joe Inwood, following developments from the Ukrainian capital, Kiev.
It's specifically Severodonetsk where the fighting is focused, the street fighting. We have heard in recent days of reports of an ebb and flow of the fighting as the Russians advance and then the Ukrainians counterattack. But we understand that it is the Russians on the front foot at the moment. The Ukrainians have pulled back somewhat, but the fighting is continuing there.
Russia has started turning over the bodies of Ukrainian fighters killed at the steel works in the destroyed city of Mariupol, where their last-ditch stand became a symbol of resistance to Moscow's invasion. Dozens of the dead taken from bombed-out mills' Russian-occupied ruins have been transferred to Kiev. Townhall.com.
At the end of the day, I'm not going to step away from the definition that I consider myself a warrior, and I really do believe that what I call in the book the Democrat media complex, which is the natural alliance of the Democratic Party, liberal interest groups, and the mainstream media, is something that needs to be taken down.
Carrying on the legacy of Andrew Breitbart, this is Breitbart News Daily with your host, Alex Marlow, on SiriusXM Patriot 125.
My real-life godfather, John Nolte, is on with me. He's at NolteNC on Twitter. Slightly less shadow banned these days. senior writer for Breitbart News. John, we've got a lot to get to, most of them sort of culture and media today, but I will get a quick report from rural America on the Biden presidency, which just seems to be getting worse by the minute. We have seen record gas prices each of the last 9 days, and by a 2-to-1 margin, most Americans think we're already in a recession. The fact that technically we're not in one yet, and still people think we are, which is obviously a bad sign. A true self-fulfilling prophecy. That's the way the economy works. If you think we're in a recession, we will get there. But what's it like in rural America? Is it a little better than it is on the coast?
The gas prices, I think, are better, but there's still the thing about gas prices, and this is what's so bad for Joe Biden, is that gas prices are utterly demoralizing. I'm leaving on a trip tomorrow, so I just needed to top my tank, and I put 3.5 gallons in there, and it cost me over $20, and that's just demoralizing. And that's, out here, Biden's toast, and I think he's toast everywhere. And the other thing people are starting to understand, and that the Republicans are starting to state, which they should have been stating a long time ago, is the truth, and that's that all of this is deliberate. We were energy efficient under Trump. Biden stopped that. Now gas has literally, according to AAA, literally doubled under him. So that's deliberate. That did not have to happen. Gas, of course, energy, our economy is energy, and that gas prices are affecting everything, including the price of food. That's deliberate. When you hear, when gas prices go up and you see the administration run out, it literally tell us to go buy electric cars. And when just a few days ago Biden runs out and applauds the fact that gas prices have resulted in this amazing transfer to electric vehicles, it's all deliberate. He could solve this problem. He couldn't solve it tomorrow. We could solve it by opening up America's natural resources. The amount of land the government owns, the federal government owns, is lunatic. It's crazy how much land they own, and he won't let us develop our natural resources.
Yeah, it does seem to me, of all the scandals, maybe the biggest scandal of them all is when we're not talking about, because we just see it as a given. And we see it, as you said, that so many on the Democrat left see it as at a minimum, a slightly good thing, that gas prices are this high, because it does make people think about going to get an electric car. I mean, I was checking out myself. I was literally surfing electric car websites to see if there's going to be any options for me. I don't think there is, because I don't think the technology's there yet to make it too appealing to me and my lifestyle, but I was looking around, and this is why I don't think they see it as a huge failing. But the bottom line is that they can make life easier on Americans immediately today, because all they have to do is just say we're gonna drill baby drill, Keystone XL is back on, we're gonna frack in Pennsylvania and all this area that we're not fracking yet, et cetera, and we're not getting any of that. And it's because we've kind of given up of demanding Democrats actually try to tap America's natural resources, because they're so woke on the green stuff.
Yeah, and as far as an electric car, the Midwest now is going to be facing power outages over the summer. So it's a situation where the Democrats are deliberately putting us between a rock and a hard place, because they want everyone in an electric car, which is going to just explode the necessity of electricity. But they know that you can't create that electricity for an electric car without burning coal or building nuclear plants, and they won't do that. There's rolling blackouts in California. They've been dealing with that for 15 years now. And now the Midwest is going to face rolling blackouts because Democrats refuse to increase the amount of power they need. At the same time, over the last years, how many illegal aliens have they let in? They open up the border. They let all these illegal aliens in, and I'm not going to call it the Great Replacement Theory, because I consider it the Great Replacement Policy. They let all these illegal aliens in, and what do these illegal aliens do? They use our, 15 million illegals in the country? That's what we know of. What do? They suck up our resources. I'm not talking about immigrants. I have no problem with immigrants. My wife's an immigrant. But the gas, we don't have enough electricity, but all these illegal aliens are allowed, especially in California where the blackouts are. They're using up the gasoline, which increases the prices. So they're buying stuff, which increases inflation because they're increasing the demand. So it's all part of the plan. This is what they're doing deliberately. And you cannot tell me to get an electric car when you can't keep the electric on in 30-40% of the country.
Yeah, okay. So that's a good and a bleak report as always when we talk about Biden's America, but it's important to get that one. John, I mentioned your Twitter. Elon Musk is threatening to end his buyout deal with Twitter because he says he's being lied to about the amount of bots that are on the platform. Texas is now investigating that Twitter misrepresented how many bots are on the platform. I still think they're undercounting it. Like, they told me that Joe Biden, let's pull down how many Twitter accounts, how many people are on Joe Biden's Twitter. So Joe Biden's Twitter, hold on, this is the president's Twitter. I'm going to get it. At Joe Biden has 34 million people, and we're told half of those are bots. I don't buy for a second half of the people are on there are real. Do you buy for a second Joe Biden has 17 million genuine Twitter followers? I don't for a second. I think it's totally false.
I just can't see why. Yeah, I don't know why.
Yeah, so I think it's more than 50%. And I think that Musk is right on the money here. And people know that I spend a lot more time criticizing Musk than complimenting him. But I think he's totally right. I think this is a win-win for him because either they're going to have to come clean about it. They're going to come clean or not. And if they don't come clean, he gets out of a bad deal. And if they do come clean, the price he's going to have to pay is going to come way down. And I just think it's pretty great. It's one where I got to give Musk some credit.
It's the guy has been playing chess with Twitter since he first bought all that stock, and if he has them, not to reuse this, but he has them between a rock and a hard place, because if they refuse to tell him the truth, then everyone's going to know. And why would you tell them the truth? Why would you not give them this information? There's no rational reason, unless you're hiding something. There's no rational reason not to say, okay, this is how many bots we have. So they're going to be revealed as liars, and that's going to open up a whole rash of problems for them. And it wouldn't surprise me if Musk has two plans here. Either one, he's going to get Twitter at a discount, or two, he's going to start his own social media platform. Because for all the things that you can criticize him over, this guy seems to honestly believe about the importance of free speech and honestly understand that Twitter is vital to our public square, that it has replaced the public square. It's the national public square. And people need to be allowed to express themselves. And the guy's got more money than anyone in the world, and he can afford it. He's got a huge following. And, unlike Trump and all these other people that have tried to start these alternate Twitter sites, which scare people off because they think it's all going to be right-wing racists on there, Musk might actually be able to do it, and he's certainly proven capable enough to create something like that would be efficient and work well.
So I don't know if he really genuinely is committed to free speech, but I do think that your second point is true, and I think that's something why I'm rooting him on, even though I've been a long time skeptic of sort of his overall agenda. I'm definitely hoping he succeeds here, and I hope he gets a better price here, because that will really impress me if he's able to. I thought he'd be kind of low to begin with, and if he can still get that price down further, that's exactly why he's worth a couple $100 billion. And I financed an air fryer recently, so I think there's a little difference in financial acumen, gotta say. John, which is not true. It's not true. It's a joke. Source Thunder Freaks. John, you've got my favorite slate of stories are all under your byline right now. No offense to all of our wonderful writers at Breitbart. So we've got about 3 or 4 I want to hit in the time we have, which is ample, but not. It's still, I know the time always flies. The Washington Post has created a snitch culture where they are now melting down on each other publicly. Dave Weigel, who is a very weird guy who has covered us at Breitbart a little bit over the years, a long time. I know he knew me at Breitbart a fair bit. He's been a reporter for a really long time. He got wrapped up in the journalist scandal. He's had some pretty good longevity in his career, and he's at the Washington Post and has been for a while and has survived a number of scandals. But the latest scandal, John, is one where he might not survive it. He retweeted a joke. I will read the joke. The joke is not for kids, so you have 4 seconds to turn over to Howard Stern before I start reading it. This is the joke that he retweeted. Every girl is bi. You must have to figure out if it's polar or sexual. The jury's out on if it's funny or not. I've heard some people say it's funny, some people say it's not funny. It's clearly in the sexist camp. There have been a lot more offensive jokes, and there have been a lot less funny jokes out there also than that one. But just that act of retweeting it has been his game on. The woke feminists at the Washington Post are throwing down on him publicly, and he originally was not suspended. Now he is suspended. Give us the details on this one.
First off, I think the joke's hilarious. And the joke is not about society. The joke is about the teller.
That's exactly right. That's such a good take.
What makes the joke funny and non-sexist is that this guy is explaining his situation. He's explaining the situation he's going through trying to date. So he tells this joke, and you immediately understand this guy. And that's why it's hilarious. And Dave Weigel, who's a single guy, from what I understand, him retweeting it, it's funny because it tells you where he's at. And then all these harpies at the Washington Post come out and prove the joke true because they all prove that they're bipolar, that they're lunatics. So it's just a total win for everyone. And as we talk right now, Alex, this horrible woman, this joyless harpy, this joyless, brittle, dried-out harpy at the Washington Post, this Felicia Sonmez, she's trying to get another guy suspended.
Yeah, that's true.
He criticized her for criticizing Weigel.
So this is my favorite part of this, is not that Weigel retweeted this and then there's a debate if he should get disciplined. It's this lady, Felicia Sonmez, who is on the warpath on Twitter and tweeting obsessively. Apparently she has a lot of work to do at the Washington Post. She's got a lot of time to tweet obsessively about her colleagues and them not doing as she says and not having her shared woke values. But she's the person who basically ran a witch hunt on Twitter to get Weigel suspended or fired, even though they've actually worked together. I know they shared a byline, I think it was 2 months ago, I think I saw. So they obviously know each other, and she was condemning the Washington Post for not disciplining him. She'd previously sued the Washington Post. She actually sued them, and she remained on staff because I guess the Washington Post was too chicken to get rid of her. And then now she's out there and she's leading a witch hunt, not just against Weigel. She wins against Weigel. She gets Weigel suspended. And then she shifts her focus to another guy who politely said she needs to chillax on the publicly trashing her colleagues.
Yeah, and he also condemned the tweet to Weigel's weed tree. So he's another woke tard like she is. He's like, look, can we bring this in-house, please? Do you have to do this publicly? So he's one of her. So now she's trying to get him destroyed.
Right.
And it's just glorious. What's happened, this is what I think has happened. The 30,000-foot view. They no longer have the power, the corporate media no longer have the power to destroy conservatives because we're just pointing and laughing at them now. They used to be able to launch their jihads against a Tucker Carlson or a whomever, and then that person would be destroyed. They can't do it anymore because we just don't listen to them. We just shrug and we just laugh and we enjoy it, and you're just proving how